Hello there everybody, this is warcraft13 here, and welcome back to another reaction video. And in today's reaction video, it is about the World of Warcraft's augmentation evoker from the Dragonflight expansion. And from what I researched, is that the augmentation evoker is a support role. And some of you may or may not know, I do in fact play a game called Lord of the Rings Online, and my main character is a captain. And some of you may or may not know, the captain is indeed a support class. And so I figured those two classes are pretty darn similar from what I researched, but correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section below. So for right now, we'll be watching this video by a person named Cirillantv. I will put the video in the video link in the description below. So anyways, let's watch this.
Alright, hello everyone. Today we're coming at you with a little bit of a different guide. We're doing an augmentation evoker guide for Mythic Plus, since augmentation just came out, and it's a pretty fun class I've been having some fun with, so I want to make
Okay, I'm sorry for pausing. I'm possibly going to do that quite often in order for me to make sure I don't lose the train of thought. Just in case some of you may or may not know, in Lord of the Rings Online there is indeed a Mythic Plus. Well, not exactly like World of Warcraft's Mythic Plus, but it's pretty darn close enough. It is called Delving.
quick little guide for you guys on it, even though it's not Death Knight related. So starting off, we'll work through some talents. We have a pretty standard build.
Okay, as I said so before, I am going to be pausing a lot. Okay, first thing is that I've been trying to figure out why is the I do not know how World of Warcraft players call it, but I think I'm going to call it specs or a talent tree. I think it could be a talent tree. I'm not exactly sure. And it's just, as a Lord of the Rings Online player, we would call them trait lines or just lines in general. Like, just like this. This is a line, and that's a line. This one here is like the Captain Blue line, Captain Red line, or perhaps even Captain Yellow line. Who knows? But anyways, let's continue along with the video.
Build with a couple points to flex. So the new evoker tree, since augmentation dropped, has been changed. So what we're doing pretty much is just coming down the right side here, so we can pick up our Verdant Embrace, our Cauterize, and our Healing Stored. This is kind of our healing section, is the right side of this tree.
Okay.
The left is kind of damaged, the middle is kind of buffing.
Okay.
Come down the middle, we get Obsidian Scales. We get our Landslide, our Kick is on the left side here. And then we don't take anything to connect, we just come right into Tip the Scales, because obviously that's required. A bunch of little buffs here.
Okay, so okay, I've been trying to figure out this thing. So this here is the healer line, and then this one here, I guess, is a buff line, and then this here. Okay, I think I can understand. Source of magic. Redirect your excess magic to a friendly healer for 30, I can only assume 36 seconds to a minute. 36.1 minutes. I think that's how it is. I don't know. When you cast an empowered spell, you restore 0.25 of their maximum mana per empowered level, limit 1. Okay, that is similar to a captain thing. Okay. I'm possibly going to need to make a captain guide at some point. Okay, but anyways, I'm sorry for pausing.
The change now is Source of Magic's a lot easier to get, and it's really, really good for Mythic Plus because it increases the target's healing and damage done, so it just gives our healer a nice little buff and damage increase there, as well as giving them mana, obviously. And then a Pressing Roar in Coordinated.
Okay. Let out a bone-shaking roar at enemies in a cone in front of you, increasing the duration of crowd control that affects them by 50% in the next 10 seconds. Okay, that is okay. if I were to put this thing in Lord of the Rings online terms, I do not know much about lore masters, but I do know for a fact that lore masters are people who does debuffs and crowd control. So this right here might be similar to a lore master thing. Sorry about that, everyone. I lost a little bit of train of thought for a moment. Okay. Yeah, except for it's not a pressing roar, but I think it's something to do with their pets.
The groups is actually really, really good. We can get some big CC out on some priority ads if needed. We also take Overawe pretty standard, unless there's weeks like in Corp where we need Sleepwalk. You can just take that out and take Sleepwalk to help with that. If not, I'd usually keep this because removing enrages is really good. There's a lot of mobs that enrage. On weeks like this week where we have raging, obviously it's really good. It also decreases the cooldown of it, so nice.
Okay, similar to what a captain does.
Breath of Eon stun, unlike in raid, because that 3-second stun on an AoE pack is really, really nice. We get rescue, obviously, and 1 extra charge of hover. Another thing we get now is Twin Guardian, giving
Okay, once again, sorry for pausing. I've been trying to figure out something in World of Warcraft. About World of Warcraft. And that is this a part of this? Because in Lord of the Rings Online, there's like 3 trees. 3 trait trees. One is like, okay, lost my train of thought again. Okay, for a captain, captains have a blue line, they have a red line, and they have a yellow line. The blue line is healing, red line is DPS, and the yellow is tanking. But in this, can someone from the World of Warcraft community please tell me, are these one and the same? Because I'm a little confused right now.
an absorb shield, so rescue can be used as like a pseudo heal because you're putting a nice little shield on you and whoever you rescue. You take your personal defensive over here, obviously. You reduce its cooldown, and then finally Zephyr, which is a really good defensive cooldown for our party. We'll talk about that later in the defensive section. Moving over into the Aug tree itself. So, obviously our biggest button as augmentation is Ebb and Might.
Okay, Ebb and Might increases your 4 nearest allies primary stat by 15% of your own, and cause you to deal 14% more damage for 12 seconds. May only affect 4 allies at once, and prefers to imbue damage dealers. Eruption, Breath of Eons, and your Empower spells extend the duration of these effects. Okay, so Breath of Eons, I think, was over here, so I guess these two are indeed one and the same. Like, they complement each other, I think. Once again, please let me know. Okay. But this right here does remind me of the Captain buff. I do believe it was, if I remember correctly, it is called the Brother Skill. The reason why I said Brother Skill, because there is 3 different kinds of Brother Skills. There is a Blade Brother that can help out with increasing DPS. There is indeed Shield Brother, which is normally used to increase the defensive capabilities of your group. And then there is Song Brother, which would help out with the healing of the group. So I can only assume Ebb and Might is similar to her brother skill. Once again, I'm definitely going to have to show you all once I make a captain guide.
Increases your 4 nearest allies primary stat, and increases the damage you deal. And this...
Okay, I'm sorry for pausing again, but yeah, this one right here is definitely something from the brother skill called Inspire. Like, you put Blade Brother on someone in your group in Lord of the Rings Online, it would show up as in 2 different buffs would show up. One is called Inspire, and the Inspire is basically a heal, attack heal, or heal DPS, something like that. I'm not sure how to really explain it, but there is indeed a secondary skill which can also increase the damage for a few seconds as well. So this one right here is most definitely like a brother skill.
Duration is increased by a ton of things in our tree, just most of your empowers as well as Eruption and Breath of Eons. You come down the right side a little bit to get your Essence Burst and 2 charges of that.
Okay, when I cast at an enemy, Living Flame strikes an additional enemy for 100% damage. Okay, so basically it's okay. Basically, like, in a way, similar to Telemark. I think it is similar to Telemark. Yeah, because Telemark can also, like, you cast Telemark on an enemy, that enemy is marked, and then you and your group will be able to do even more damage to that target. So I can only assume it's similar to that.
Your Living Flames jumping, and then your Cheat Death.
Okay, Defy Fate. Fatal attacks are diverted into nearby timeline, preventing the damage and your death in this one. Basically like Last Stand. The captain's ability of Last Stand. The release of temporal energy restores 173,904 health to you and 57,968 to 4 nearby allies for 9 seconds. Heal starts high and declines over the duration. Okay, this top part is definitely a lot like the captain's ability called Last Stand. But then this one over here, this is like Cry of Revenge. Well, it's only done, Cry of Revenge only does it for only one person. You can only revive one person with Cry of Revenge. But that would only restore half of the health. Unless that you are in healer line, in blue line as a captain, then you'll be able to heal them all the way. And I think there is also the main res that a captain can do. I think it was called Return from Darkness. If I remember correctly, that's the captain's main res. I'm gonna have to refresh my mind about the Captain Blue line to find out for sure.
This Cheat Death is actually really nice. It's passive once you don't have to worry about pressing it. And that's all we take on the right side here for now. You come down, you get your Eruption, you get your kick cooldown reduced, and then you're kind of moving through getting your Upheaval, getting your Breath of
Okay, Breath of Eons. I think Breath of Eons fly to targeted location, exposing temporal wounds on enemies in your path for 12 seconds. Okay, this is something I would like to have as a captain as well. I mean, that I would love to have as a captain. To being able to put telemark on multiple enemies. That I would love to do. So this is basically telemark on steroids. Yeah, this part right here is like freaking telemark over here, except for that it's an AoE telemark. Temporal wounds for 25% of the damage by your allies affected by Ebon Might. Then critically strike that amount as arcane damage. Okay, that is similar to another captain ability, but I think it was one of the captain wound abilities, or bleeding abilities. One is called Grave Wound, and one's called Cutting Wound. So this one right here must be the same thing. Yeah, in my captain's legendary weapon, that you can indeed inflict like 45% damage, but then it would also raise your critical strike. Yeah, similar to a Captain Wound ability. K applies Ebon Might for 5 seconds. He removes all root effects. Immune. Yeah, this is right. Okay, so this one right here is definitely similar to the Captain ability called Muster Courage. Because in Muster Courage, the Captain can indeed remove one poison. It can also, it can remove one poison, root, basically anything. But it has to be done one at a time. Like, you put down Muster Courage, and then you had to wait a bit to use it again, to get rid of another thing, and then wait for it a little bit, and then use it again, and then you'll be able to remove all the effects. But that's if the Fellowship has pots on them, like, to remove things, or I think Minstrels have the ability to remove wounds and poisons and stuff like that as well. Because they're healers. Main healers.
Beyond, which is your big button we'll talk about. Augmentation. Chrono Ward is really great because it gives everyone a shield as that you do.
Okay, when allies deal damage with temporal wounds, they gain a shield for 100 of the damage dealt. Absorption cannot exceed 30% of your maximum health. Okay, this is not familiar to me as a captain, because a captain doesn't have a skill like this. But this one over here, this part over here of this thing, absorption cannot exceed 30% of the maximum health. I think that is familiar. I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna have to refresh. I have to refresh myself on the Captain Tank line. But this one over here, like, gains a shield for 100% damage dealt. That is definitely similar to the shield of the Dunedain. So yeah, I remember that part, but definitely not that similar, but some part of it is.
2 damage with Breath of Eons, and then you come down into Blistering Scales and Draconic Attunements.
Okay, this guy might be going a little too fast for me to get my train of thought together. So once again, I am sorry for pausing, and it's just enough for me to get my point across, so I had to pause. Alright. Learn to attune yourself to the essence of the black or bronze dragonflights. You and 4 of your nearest allies have 4% increased maximum health. Okay, that is similar to, this one over here is definitely similar to the motivational speech captain buff. When it comes to motivational speech, a captain can raise your morale, which in this case, I can only assume its health in this game is about 10% when it comes to motivational speech. So yeah, this one over here is definitely like a motivational speech, and then you and your 4 allies, nearest allies, increased movement speed. That is definitely the captain's ability called Make Haste. Yeah, this one over here is definitely from Make Haste.
Attunements, we'll talk about that later in the utility section, but it basically gives you increased health and movement speed for your whole party that can be buffed later on by this next talent, Aspect's Favor.
Okay, Aspect's Favor. Obsidian scales activate black attunement and amplifies and increases maximum health by 16% for 14.4 seconds. Okay, this one here is definitely not like in Defensive Middle-earth, because Defensive Middle-earth is basically the captain's ace in the hole. One of the captain's aces in the hole. There's multiple aces in the hole that captains can do. This one over here only has the health for 14 seconds, so I guess this one over here would be good for tanks. Hover activates bronze attunement and amplifies it to increase movement speed by 40% for 4.8 seconds. I don't really have that other than make haste. When it comes to a captain skill called make haste, we don't have anything like this as a secondary speed buff from what I remember. Okay, so that's the one pretty darn cool ability.
So it basically counts as a rally or a stampeding roar, depending if you hover obsidian scales. Really, really great utility you have. And then you kind of come down here and fill out the bottom like this.
Okay, the guy was definitely going to go fast. Don't worry, dude, you are fine. It is just, for me, I can't read too fast. Grants an ally a gift of foresight, increasing their critical strike chance by 3%, and occasionally copying their damage and healing spells by 15% for 21.6 seconds. Affects nearest allies within 26 yards. Preferring damage dealers if you do not have any ally targeted. Okay, so basically this is a DPS buff. It's similar to the it's not exact, but it's definitely similar to the captain skill called the Standard of War. And it's definitely similar to that, except for that it's for the entire group. And there's no copying and stuff. Once again, I'm definitely going to have to make up a captain guide in order for me to show you. Affects nearest allies in 26 yards. Captain Standard of War doesn't do that. You're basically just going to have to toss down your Standard of War and then just have your entire group being in its range for them to get this kind of buff. But once again, it's similar to the Captain Standard of War, if I'm correct, because the Captain Standard of War can indeed raise the critical strike chance as well.
Crash against another big button we'll talk about. And then you come down and get Fate Mirror, and I like Interwoven Threads, just that 10% DR for the entire dungeon is nice, not having to worry about when to press time skip. If you wanted to come out of that, you could potentially get this pseudo defensive with your Breath of Eon.
Okay, while flying during the Breath of Eons, 50% damage would be... It's 50% of the damage... Okay, while flying during Breath of Eons, 50% of the damage you would take is instead dealt over 10 seconds. Okay, that is definitely the, that is a captain skill called... If I were to put... Darny Morrow having ideas in the middle of commentary, if I were to put this when it comes to a Lord of the Rings Online's perspective, it would have been called the captain skill called the In Harm's Way. That's basically what this is. The Captain Yellow Line skill called In Harm's Way. Basically what it is basically you are, like, think of it like this. You have an enemy, the enemy gets his bow out and ready to shoot the DPS or the healer. So basically what you do is you put In Harm's Way into one of your allies and you would take 50% damage. I mean, the captain would take 50% damage than what the healer or the DPS would have taken.
You could take the Lust when you land. Not a terrible talent. Most aren't really worth it.
Okay, Overlord. Breath of Eons can cast Eruption at 3 enemies struck. That is an awesome ability. What in the world are you talking about? If it's just like the Breath of Eons up here, then it would definitely go down there, which would definitely make it an AoE thing.
And Overlord is not really worth.
Man, you're... what I'm about to say is a joke. This person here, he's a cool guy and everything. It is just that as a captain, we have to worry about, like... we have to worry about everyone in the group. So having as much AoE as you can is definitely a plus. Like the captain's rallying cry, that's an AoE heal. The captain's skill called Inspire, that is also an AoE heal. The captain brother skill is a AoE buff. Basically, you put a brother skill into one person, but then that person would also, then everyone in the group would also have it. And then of course there is indeed in Defense of Middle Earth, which is a big buff, the biggest buff that any captain should use before a raid starts, which is an AoE buff that affects the whole group.
Worth it either, honestly. It's kind of our standard loadout for the most part. Those 1 or 2 changes you can do. Alright, running right into stats. So, as augmentation...
Okay, definitely not like a captain. Okay, the stats is definitely not like a captain, so I guess it's a good thing. Because captains don't need to worry about intellect much. Because intellect is not one of our main stats. The only ones that would have intellect is possibly going to be the lore masters. Mastery, physical mastery for the captain, yes, that is definitely a must. Haste, which is to make the attack speed faster. So that's definitely important for the captain, because it's like you don't want to let up on an enemy when you want to get that critical, so you'll be able to use Rallying Cry and a bunch of other stuff that requires a critical or an enemy defeat. So having haste is definitely a must. Critical chance, definitely a must for the captain. And verse, yeah, that's definitely I don't know what verse is. Can anyone from the WoW community tell me what a verse is?
The biggest thing you want is intellect because of Ebb and Might. So the more primary stat you have, the more primary stat you give.
Okay, just like how it is when it comes to being a captain. You definitely want to have high might. You definitely want to have high might as a captain. Because I do believe, if I remember correctly, you can indeed heal more as a captain, because you basically inspire people. Well, I'm going to have to take a look, because I know for a fact that that might is indeed a primary attribute a captain has.
To your party. So pretty much eye level is king on most items, and you're going to want trinkets that give you intellect, except for Radius Fragment. We'll talk about that later. So pretty much as much int as you can get, and then you want to stack mastery. I'm still gearing this guy, so my mastery is not that good yet.
Physical mastery on a captain, yes, that is definitely necessary, but then, absolutely necessary. But yeah, your mastery is not up there, but still, as you said, that you're working on it. So, which is awesome.
Yet, tomorrow's Tuesday, so I haven't crafted anything, so I'm waiting for Vault. But so what our mastery does is when you cast an Empower spell, you give somebody Shifting Sands, which increases their verse by 16%.
Oh, okay, so it's enhancement. Oh, so it's not like physical mastery. Okay, so basically it's a casting mastery. Oh, okay, that's what I mixed up on.
By a certain percent for a certain amount of time, and that percent and time goes up as you get more mastery. So you basically want every single piece of gear you have to have mastery to increase the verse you give people and increase the duration of that verse. And if you don't know what verse does, it's basically just a straight up 20% damage buff or a healing buff for your...
Oh, wait a minute. Versatility. Oh, I think there's that kind of thing in Lord of the Rings Online. I'm not exactly sure, but it's familiar. I'm gonna have to take a look into my captain stats to see if versatility was recently added or something of the sort.
For healer, and it's DR as well for half your verse. So that's why we really want to stack mastery, so we're giving out as much verse as we can to our teammates, and it also increases the duration of our shifting sands, our breath of beyonds, and other auras as we get more mastery as well.
Nice. Okay.
After that, everything else really isn't that good for us. I'm trying to stack a little more haste so I can get more casts out, and then crit and verse are just kind of there. So like I said, you really want to focus on that mastery. Alright, so as far as certain pieces of gear you want, the glaring one this guy doesn't have yet is right here. You want to get the Evoker Legendary. The Evoker Legendary is absolutely crazy.
Okay. Alright. Okay, orange wording stuff is a must in Lord of the Rings Online. It is an absolute must, but if you can get like teal or I think I'm gonna call it blue. Yeah, in Lord of the Rings Online there's yellow, and then there is purple, and then there's blue, and then there's orange. If you can get blue or orange stat stuff, you'll be fine. But definitely want to have orange. Orange worded stuff might be difficult to get, but you get the idea. It's just more fun to go out there and find that stuff.
So obviously I don't have the Evoker Legendary yet, but you can see the tooltip right here.
Okay, so this is basically like the Lord of the Rings Online legendary items. Basically what he has is basically the equivalent of the captain's emblem. So this right here is like the captain's emblem, except for it is Nazero's The Unbound Legacy.
First of all, it's 457 eye level. It gives you so much intellect, and it also has mastery on it, which is coincidentally our best stat. And then just the equip effect is crazy. You'll randomly give an ally a ton of primary stat and speed. So we want to be killing Sarkrath every week to try to get that. For trinkets, you 100% want Iridia's Fragment. Why? One, it gives us mastery.
Okay, it gets you 597 mastery. You just gain the Titan's crumbling power and increasing intellect by 713. Reduced each time you use an ability. Last 20 seconds. 3-minute cooldown. So I can only assume that every time you use an ability, you would lose intellect. So basically, you use a skill, and then that just makes you dumb. I think that's how it is. Please let me know if I am wrong.
And 2, the on-use effect is it gives you intellect. So you'll be popping that before you press Ebon Might to give your teammates extra main stat with your Ebon Might. Your next trinket, I've just had this since before augmentation came out. Some intellect, it gives you some secondary stat. You'll probably want a different stat stick with intellect on it. Obviously, you could be getting, this point in the season, you might be getting Chromatic Essence. If you get that, you'll want to put the mastery buff on it. You can get, obviously, class trinket is really good for us too. I mean, it's crit, which isn't great, but you get the int buff is up pretty often. I wouldn't really recommend Beacon. We don't get any more int from it. We're already not getting int from our trinket. Rings, I'm going crafted ring. I'll be upgrading that next week. And then right now I have this ring because it has giant mastery on it. You can get that from Brackenhide. You could get ring from Neltharis, which also has big mastery on it and crit. You
Okay.
could get ring from boss, also big mastery. You pretty much just want to get the biggest ring you can with the most mastery on it for your second ring. For a belt, I would craft a belt. There's not really any good big mastery belts. I don't have.
Okay, so awesome. So people do in fact craft in World of Warcraft. Okay, I'm sorry for making a joke, but seriously, from what I recall, or from what my friends who play World of Warcraft told me, say that not many people craft.
I have one right now. I'll probably craft one next week. I ironically got the best boots in the game for us from the dungeon event box. You want to get Sarkareth boots. They have big mastery on them. And that's pretty much it. I don't really have a good neck right now. You'll want the neck from...
Okay, I'm gonna have to pause it because once again I might be making a joke, which I do not mean to make fun of anyone. It is just I'm having some nostalgia vibes because his evoker here reminds me of Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, which was an awesome movie, by the way. But once again, I just in the final part of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, Ivan Ooze took off. I think he basically possessed the body of, I think, one of those ant robots. I forgot what they were called. And it did, but never mind. Well, you get the idea. Once again, I do not mean to make this as a joke. It is just because I'm just having a nostalgia trip. Nice gear, by the way, dude.
Vortex, get it. Small haste, big mastery. You want to try to get this one if you can. And then moving into embellishments. I really recommend Sport Cloak. It's really nice. It keeps you alive.
Okay, okay. Oh, jeez, the stats is pretty darn awesome. Enchanted Graceful Avoidance. When above 70% health, heal for 10,039 every 5 seconds. Jeez! Okay, a captain from... Maybe there is a such thing in Lord of the Rings Online of something like that, but in all my time playing Lord of the Rings Online, I do not recall seeing anything like that. Not even on the minstrel. Let's see here. When health is below 30%, the symbionic spores embedded in your cloak expands, granting a shield that absorbs 204,936 damage for 10 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 2 minutes. Okay, so there's a cooldown. Okay.
Gives you an absorb shield. And then for your second one, it could be a couple of things. You could go arm guards. I've had this from when I was playing preservation. As a support class, you actually might want to go with the engineering ones, because it can just give...
Okay, occasionally you adapt to your current situation for 12 seconds. Okay, definitely what a captain does. We adapt to situations, so that's definitely a must for a captain to have. Taking damage, you can grant you 309 versatility and critical strike, which is pretty darn awesome. Definitely darn awesome. Causing critical damage or healing can grant you 309 mastery and haste. Awesome.
Give you huge mastery, and you have a B-res. So as a support class, you could be the one doing the B-reses, so you don't have to worry about your healer or tank having to do that. Or you could go the toxic boots. Up to you. I'm generally running with the sport cloak and either this or I might switch to engineering when I get some more crests. Moving into our tier set, so pretty basic tier set. Ebon Might increases the damage of your power spells, and Ebon Might increases your allies' primary stats by more. Not really much to talk about there, it's just a nice stat buff tier set. So moving into our rotation. So what you'll want to do is
Okay, sorry for pausing. It is just that even as a captain of Lord of the Rings Online, we also have a rotation. No matter what trait tree we are on, there is only one kind of rotation. Matter of fact, there is, there's a primary rotation. I mean, one primary rotation.
Let's talk about this a little bit right now. We have Prescience. And what this is it gives one of our allies 3% crit, as well as copying their damage and healing spells, or having a chance to copy their damage and healing spells. So you're in a dungeon, you're always going to want to put this on your DPS, obviously. And it lasts, as you can see, it lasts for 21 seconds. It's 11-second cooldown. So you'll be having this up on both DPS, ideally the entire dungeon. You always want to have it on someone. If it's off cooldown, you want to use it to refresh it on someone. So that's my little spiel about Prescience. So you'll want to be pre-popping that on people. You'll want to pre-pop your blistering scales on your tank. Ideally, we'll talk a little bit more about blistering scales in the defensive section. And then, so for your actual rotation, you're going to want to hit your Iridius Fragment first. Evan.
Oh, jeez. What the... Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing. I am just rather shocked in a way, because as a captain of Lord of the Rings Online, the primary rotation is basically Battle Shout, Sure Strike, and Devastating Blow. And that's it. No matter what treat you're on, you could be yellow line, you could be red line, you could be blue line. As long as you do those three things, you're fine. Like, you definitely want to keep, but you definitely want to keep the buff from Sure Strike up. Which is no biggie to do. You basically, like, you do the rotation like I just said, and then you just do some other attack, and then you just come back to Sure Strike, and do some other attack, and do Sure Strike. You get the idea. Once again, once I make a captain guide, I'll show you. But definitely the primary thing is just those three things. But when it comes to this, holy crap. Jeez, man. Why this much? Well, I guess we'll find out.
Ebon Might. Tip the scales Fire Breath. Get an upheaval, and then hit your breath. And then after that, you're just spamming eruptions to keep your Ebon Might buff up. You can throw in a Living Flame proc when it's maxed out to try to get an Essence Burst. You can get one there. But that's pretty much it. There we go, we got our Essence Burst proc. Get a couple of...
Okay, I guess I can possibly understand. Because also the captain's ability called Pressing Attack, which is basically an AoE attack. Basically weaker, a little bit weaker than than Devastating Blow, but it is the AoE equivalent of Devastating Blow. So then it will raise your more chances for you to use your Rallying Cry, or your routing shout, or routing cry if you're a yellow line.
Eruptions out. And then as you can see, if you do your rotation correctly, your Ebon Might will be up pretty much permanently. See, it's already up again. We Ebon Might again. Get our Fire Breath. Get our upheaval. Always just one stack upheaval. You don't need to do any bigger. The bigger The longer you empower it, you just get bigger area. Don't really need it. You're already max casting your fire breath to get living flame procs. Prescience also has a 20% chance to give you essence burst, so you'll randomly be getting bursts from that. Help keep your Ebonite up. And that's pretty much your rotation, for the most part. You'll want to be some advanced stuff that you'll get into later, but you'll want to be...
Okay. Alright, I guess if I were to play World of Warcraft and I want to play an augmentation evoker, I'm going to have to do a pretty darn, maybe, I'm just going to have to get used to the rotation, but to me that rotation seems to be a bit long. Because once again, the primary rotation of a captain is basically Battle Shout, Sure Strike, and a Devastating Blow, or pressing attack. But still, it's just 3 or 4 things. Everything else in a captain is secondary until the situation demands rallying cry and stuff like that. But when it comes to damage, it's just those 3 or 4 things. Oh, and then also, if you're in red line, then it would definitely be Blade of Elendil and Shadow's Laminate. And you want to mark, then you want to use Telemark. But I'm definitely going to have to stop repeating myself, but sometimes I lose track of thought if I don't. I'm going to have to show you all I'm going to have to make a captain guide to show you all.
Be lining up your Ebonmites and your breaths with your party's cooldowns. But for the most part, you're at least landing Ebonmite on cooldown. Breath is when you'll be kind of timing that more with your party's cooldowns. Moving into some of our more supporty things like defensives and healing and utility. So you have your source of magic you'll put on your healer. And then as far as defensives go, we have Zephyr, which is incredible. What it does is it increases everyone's movement speed.
Okay, conjure an updraft to lift you and your 4 nearest allies within 20 yards into the air, reducing damage taken from the area off effect attacks. Okay, so basically if a boss or if a mob has like some kind of ground attack, you basically use that Zephyr thing to send your friends up, thus making the enemy miss. And then at the same time when they land, they get a movement buff.
By 30%.
Okay.
And decreases AoE damage by 20% for your entire party. So you'll pop that, everyone will be quick, everyone will be taking less damage. It's really nice, it helps your healer out a lot. Now, the new thing with augmentation is you have Black Attunement and Bronze Attunement. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but what Black Attunement does, it gives you 4% increased health, and Bronze gives you 10% movement speed. And how these are augmented now with augmentation is when you press hover, you actually give your party 30% movement speed. Or actually 40% because it's buffed there.
Okay, so when you fly...
The flip side of that is when you press Obsidian Scales, it does reduce your damage by 30%, but it also gives your team 16% increased health. So you basically have a Rallying Cry. You have 2 charges of a Rallying Cry with Obsidian Scales.
Rallying Cry, definitely the captain's ace in the hole when it comes to healing. The reason why I call it an ace in the hole is because it is an AoE heal. It would definitely help the healers immensely. But if I were to give advice to fellow captains, please, and I mean please, use Rallying Cry during a critical or a defeat event. Do not use it unless the situation demands it, because you would definitely heal much less if you heal on... Okay, if you heal, that is not a defeat event or critical.
Scales. You have a Stampeding Roar with hover, and then you also have your personal defensive.
Okay, personal defensive, yes, that is in a way like Shield Brother or a personal defensive. Basically, in yellow line, there was a personal defensive. I think it was one of the Shield Brothers' abilities. Shield Brother Inspires, something like that. I really gotta refresh my Captain Yellow line. I've been in Red Line for so long that I might not be able to remember any other line. Because I haven't been in raids in a while.
And that it just helps your healer so much. One, being able to move quickly is good. But two, the 2 rallies is
Definitely, as a captain, you definitely want to move quick as well.
so nice. Like I said, it's 2 rallies, so you're double a warrior just by having your defensive, and that's up every 1.4 minutes. That combined with Zephyr and some of our other healing, you'll always have a defensive for something. So what is our other healing?
So basically, when the situation demands that he'll be ready to give a tank to hand.
Big one that should be popping pretty much on cooldown. It's 27-second cooldown. Is your Emerald Blossom. You drop that, and it heals allies.
Basically, the captain's ability called the Standard of Hope. Yeah, because the Standard of Valor would be the tanking standard. But when it comes to Standard of Hope, it is definitely an AoE heal as well.
After 1.5 seconds, you drop that on yourself, drop that.
Definitely like the Standard of Hope. You heal for a few seconds, but that would definitely give the healers a little bit of a break.
On your tank, you have Verdant Embrace. There's a couple good uses for Verdant Embrace. One is to just reposition yourself, so you can fly over here and heal this guy. And it is a very good single target heal, as well as healing.
Definitely the single target heal would be known as Words of Courage as a captain. But I am definitely not up there for me to heal as much as he just did.
It is a very good single target heal, as well as healing you. You can help your healer out with those two. Your Living Flames can heal, especially when you have the Leaping Flame.
When it comes to Words of Courage, you don't get health back. Well, technically, in a way, you do get health back because you do like Rallying Cry, Inspire, and all the other stuff. But the thing is that when it comes to Words of Courage, you're actually taking your own health away. Basically, it's like let's just say that you saw that your friend's health is going low. So basically, what you're doing is passing your own energy to another person.
So, if there's only a couple enemies, you will just get some free heals out on other people with your leaping.
But once again, Words of Courage, you can actually get health back. So, it's no biggie to use it. So my tip for a captain, if you don't have the critical strike, the critical chance to use the Rallying Cry, then use Words of Courage on a single target, and then wait for the chance to use use Rallying Cry from a critical event, or an enemy event, or enemy defeat event.
Flames. And then we have Blistering Scales. So you may be thinking, why? What do you mean Blistering Scales? Don't you just put that in the tank? For the most part, yes, that will be on the tank. But if someone is taking a lot of single target damage,
okay, this is definitely a lot like the captain's ability called In Harm's Way. Maybe it's the Shield of Dunedain? It is something like that, if I'm correct.
You can rotate your Blistering Scales as a pseudo-defensive onto one of your other teammates. So, say my training dummy here gets the dot from Sentinel Talandris in Uldaman. I would want to throw my scales on him, because that gives him a very big shield, as well as giving them armor, and it will help your healer out in a pinch to just, you could Blistering Scale.
Yeah, basically it's similar to In Harm's Way, I think. Shield of Dunedain or In Harm's Way. Either one of those two. You definitely, it's like if you find that your teammate's in trouble, you cast one of those two, and then that would give your healer time to heal that person, or for the captain to heal that person while the healer is dealing with some other healing situations.
Heal someone, burden embrace them, drop your blossom, and that's just a lot of healing right there. That's going to help your healer out.
You definitely, as a support, it's not about you. It is about the team. If you and your team came back out alive from the from the raid, then the support has did their job right. Because everyone had a chill time, everyone didn't need to stress out, no one needs to kick anyone out. We did what we need to do. We got done what needs to be done. And at the end of the day, we went on over to the Prancing Pony, have ourselves a drink, and things are good.
Another one we have is rescue. I mean, I can't rescue a dummy, but when you rescue...
Okay, captain ability, that has to be something that captains should have. The ability to rescue someone. In essence, possibly pull that person out of there. Or at least... But I guess the captain should not have that ability. I don't really know. But I know for a fact that the captain really should have one.
Rescue someone now, like I said, we get that 30% shield over your maximum health. That's another pseudo-defensive / heal you can use to help your healer out. And that's pretty much...
Oh, okay, so he must be... Oh, okay, I thought it was like a rescue as in that you pull someone out of the way. Okay, so basically you're just rescuing someone from certain death when the healer is busy.
All we have is healing capabilities. The only other things I would mention here are Cauterizing Flame, which you always take, the 40k heal, as well as removing any bleeds, poison, curses, or diseases. That's a 1 minute cooldown. And then your other detox or poison removal is a 7-second cooldown. So on bosses like Worm Boss and Neltharian's Lair, you're really, really, really useful to your healer here. You can help remove those toxins from your entire party with your healer there.
Okay, basically you remove toxins is definitely like the captain's ability called Muster Courage. But it's a fear resist as well.
He's gonna be thanking you a lot for he or she. Moving into what other utility we have. You're a support class, so you're gonna want to be getting really good at using your utility abilities because that's what you're here for.
Yeah, you're there to support.
Raid buff. Obviously, it increases everyone's or reduces the cooldown of everyone's major movement speed ability.
So basically, it's just like how it is when it comes to Routing Shout. I think it was Routing Shout, but I remember that in the Captain Red Line, you can either use a shout when you do after you do a critical event or an enemy defeat event. You're able to use a special shout, and this shout in Captain Red Line can make your people do damage 30% faster.
We talked about Source of Magic, and so the other...
So basically, it's like that when it comes to magic using people as well.
Utility we have is short kick. We have a 18-second kick, which is just crazy short.
Okay, basically it's an interrupt, just like how it is with the captain. The captain also has an ability called kick, which is normally used as an interrupt or a stun.
We were kicking a lot. And then we have tail swipe. So we have a knock up, and then we have a knock back. Those are both...
Okay, you definitely don't have that as a captain.
But still very useful to have an AoE knock up or knock back that you use as a pseudo interrupt or a stop. Hover, I mean, I'm going to call hover a utility because you can just move and cast with it, and you can also reposition yourself and get movement speed. So you can be zipping around while moving, doing whatever you need to do. other utility we have, the Breath of Eons. We have pick up the stun here. We're gonna call that some utility. That's a big AoE stun right there. And then we already talked about rescue. Rescue is just a great ability. I don't think I can rescue a random person, can I? No, yeah. It has to be a team member, but most of you know what rescue looks like. And so all of those combined gives us a really, really unique toolkit. I've played it not a ton, because I haven't had a ton of time since I got back from my vacation recently, but I've already done a 20 with it. I've done a bunch of 18s with it. We'll be doing more 20s next week when the group's on. But it's really, really, really fun. It's a whole new way to play the game. Yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a little different than my usual content, but leave a like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought about it, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, that was definitely a very interesting video. I've definitely learned quite a lot about the augmentation evoker, but I'm guessing, to me, it's a bit confusing because I've been playing a captain for so long that I'm so used to doing 3 trait trees. It is just that when it comes to World of Warcraft, it's like the augmentation evoker has like 3 trait trees, except for it's 1 tree. So, yeah. That's a little bit difficult for me to understand. But I'm guessing if you all could tell me what I missed or what I messed up on, please let me know in the comment section. But anyways, I did in fact give this person a like. And I know I'm going to be posting this as a picture in the beginning. But sometimes, once again, I can lose track of thought at any moment. But as you can see from right over here, I did in fact ask this person, or a fellow content creator, permission to use the video as a reaction / my thoughts video. But if anyone out there want to discuss with me about what I missed on the augmentation evoker, perhaps the Lord of the Rings Online community and the World of Warcraft community can come together and have a discussion about support. Because it's like the captain has been around since the early 2000s, and the augmentation evoker has been, I think it was recently new this year. I do not know how recent, but still, it is relatively new. So odds are there's a 50% chance that the augmentation evoker will get nerfed in the coming days. I don't know how many times, but I could only suspect 4. But anyways, I will definitely put the video in the description below. And I'm hoping that you all had a good time. And have yourself a good day, everyone.